First contact deception. The Archean survey fleet approached the small mining outpost with practiced confidence. High Commander Zextal watched the holographic display with all four of his sensor stalks extended, studying what appeared to be a primitive human operation on the asteroid belt of the Procyon system. The mining vessels were crude, barely more than pressurized containers with primitive ion engines strapped to their hulls. Another species taking their first tumbling steps into space, Zextal commented to his bridge crew. Mark their development stage as pre-spacefaring industrial, suitable for integration into the labor force. The Archean Collective had done this countless times before. Find developing species, assess their capabilities, and determine how best to exploit them. Humanity's apparent technological level made them perfect candidates for manual labor in the Collective's vast mining operations. What Zextal didn't know was that every piece of equipment he scanned was broadcasting carefully crafted false readings. The primitive mining ships were shells concealing technology far beyond anything the Archeans had encountered. Inside one of those ships, Commander Sarah Chen watched her own displays with growing anticipation. "They're buying it," she sub-vocalized through her neural link. "All ships maintain emissions control. Let them get closer." The Archean flagship moved within what they considered safe distance from the mining operation. Their scans showed nothing but simple mass drivers and basic life support systems. No weapons, no shields, nothing that could possibly threaten a civilization that had mastered faster-than-light travel. "Begin broadcast of integration protocols," Zextal ordered. The standard procedure was to announce their supremacy, demand submission, and begin processing the new species into their hierarchy. "Attention primitive human settlement. You are now under the protection of the Archean Collective. Resistance is..." The message cut off as every mining ship simultaneously shed their outer shells. What emerged were sleek warships, their hulls composed of metamaterials that absorbed rather than reflected scanning beams. Before the Archean sensors could even register the change, quantum-locked targeting systems had already acquired every vital system on their ships. "This is Commander Chen of the Earth Defense Force." Sarah broadcast on all frequencies. "I'm afraid there's been a misunderstanding. We're not primitive, and we're definitely not interested in being part of your collective." The Archean bridge erupted in chaos as warning signals blared. Their sensors were suddenly picking up energy readings that shouldn't have been possible from such a young species. The human ships moved with impossible precision, their formation shifting to surround the Archean fleet. "Impossible." Zextal's sensor stalks writhed in agitation. "Their technology. They couldn't have developed this in isolation." "We didn't," Chen replied, allowing herself a small smile. "We've been watching you for decades, learning, preparing. Every primitive mining operation you've passed, every simple human transport. We've been studying you while you thought you were studying us." The human ships activated their true weapon systems. Fields of controlled quantum probability collapsed around key sections of the Archean vessels, bypassing their shields entirely. Engineering systems started failing as precisely calculated interference patterns disrupted their quantum processors. "You see," Chen continued, "humanity learned long ago that appearing weak can be the greatest strength. We knew we weren't alone in the universe, and we knew that not every alien civilization would be friendly. So we hid. We watched. We let you think you were the advanced ones studying primitive humans." Zextal watched in horror as his mighty fleet was systematically disabled by weapons that his most advanced sensors couldn't even properly detect. Every countermeasure they attempted was met with a response that suggested the humans had anticipated it years in advance. "Your collective isn't the first group to underestimate humanity, and you won't be the last." Chen's voice carried a note of almost pedagogical patience. "But you will serve as an object lesson for others. Humanity isn't interested in conquering or subjugating anyone. We simply wish to be left alone. Remember that." As the last Archean ship lost power, Chen ordered her fleet to stand down. They had achieved their objective without a single casualty. The message would spread through the collective. The seemingly primitive humans were not what they appeared to be. And perhaps, just perhaps, it would make other species think twice before assuming technological advancement equated to superiority. The Silent Fleet. News of the Archean fleet's defeat spread through the galactic community like a quantum wave collapse. Most species dismissed it as propaganda or exaggeration. After all, how could a pre-FTL civilization disable an entire collective battle group without destroying a single ship? The truth, as the Archeans had learned, was far more unsettling. Admiral Kexnor of the Combined Collective Forces stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Dominion, preparing to prove that the previous encounter had been a fluke. His fleet was 5 times the size of the previous expedition, armed with countermeasures against every weapon system the humans had revealed. Long-range sensors detect no human vessels within the Ta-Ceti system, his sensor officer reported. The mining colonies appear abandoned. Kexnor's mandibles clicked in satisfaction. They fled at our approach. As expected from a species that relies on trickery rather than true strength, begin systematic sweep of the system. The massive fleet moved forward in perfect formation, their sensors probing every asteroid and planetoid for signs of human activity. They found nothing. No energy signatures, no communication signals, not even residual radiation from supposed human drives. Deep within an unremarkable asteroid belt, Commander Sarah Chen watched the collective fleet's approach on displays that emitted no detectable radiation. Her ships lay dormant among the rocks, their metamaterial hulls indistinguishable from the surrounding asteroids. All ships maintain zero emissions, she subvocalized through the neural network connecting her fleet. Let them get comfortable. Let them think they've scared us away. The human fleet had spent years preparing for this moment. Each ship was a marvel of engineering, designed not to fight the collective on their terms, but to change the rules of engagement entirely. Their hulls weren't just stealth technology. They were active metamaterials that could absorb, redirect, and manipulate energy in ways the collective science had deemed impossible. Kexnor's fleet reached the center of the system, their formation spreading out to begin a detailed survey. No signs of human activity, his science officer reported. Perhaps they truly did abandon. The officer never finished his sentence. Throughout the collective fleet, quantum processors suddenly began receiving impossible readings. Space itself seemed to twist and fold around their ships, sensor systems reporting contacts that appeared and disappeared faster than their computers could track. Battle stations. Kexnor roared, but it was already too late. The human ships had been in position for hours, hiding in plain sight, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Chen's fleet revealed itself not with dramatic transformations or energy signatures, but with subtle distortions in spacetime that rippled through the collective formation. The humans had learned long ago that the most effective weapon wasn't overwhelming force, it was the ability to control the battlefield itself. Target their command and control systems, Chen ordered through the neural net. Each human ship acted independently, but in perfect coordination, their actions guided by distributed artificial intelligence systems that could make decisions faster than any centralized command structure. The collective fleet's tight formation, once a symbol of their military precision, became their greatest weakness. Human ships slipped between their ranks like sharks through a school of fish, their metamaterial hulls bending light and energy around them in ways that made them appear to be everywhere and nowhere at once. Impossible. Kexnor watched as his carefully planned countermeasures proved useless. The humans weren't using the same weapons they'd revealed in their first encounter. They had an entirely new arsenal, one that turned the collective's own technology against them. Quantum entanglement fields collapsed communications networks. Probability drives created localized areas where the laws of physics seemed to operate differently. Ships found themselves unable to maintain formation as space itself seemed to become unreliable. You still don't understand, do you? Chen's voice came through on all frequencies, calm and almost pitying. Every time you think you've figured us out, every time you think you've developed countermeasures, you're just seeing what we want you to see. The human ships moved with impossible grace, their actions coordinated through a neural network that operated on principles the collective hadn't even theorized yet. Each vessel acted as both an individual unit and part of a greater whole, adapting and reacting in real time to every collective response. Your entire military doctrine is based on hierarchy, on rigid command structures, and predetermined responses, Chen continued. But humanity, we thrive on chaos. We evolved on a planet that tried to kill us every day, survived disasters that should have ended our species a dozen times over. We learned to adapt, to improvise, to turn apparent weakness into strength. Kexnor watched in horror as his fleet's formation disintegrated. Ships lost power in carefully calculated sequences, their crews unharmed but helpless as human vessels danced between them, striking with surgical precision at key systems. We could destroy your ships. Chen's voice carried a note of steel now. We could eliminate your entire battle group, but that's not our way. Instead, we're going to let you return home, and you're going to deliver a message. The remaining functional ships in the collective fleet found themselves herded together, surrounded by human vessels that seemed to fade in and out of normal space-time. The message is simple, Chen concluded. Humanity will defend itself. We don't want war. We don't want conquest. But if pushed, we will respond with everything we have. And what you've seen today, it's just the beginning of what we can do. As the defeated collective ships limped away from the Ta-CD system, Shan allowed herself a small smile. The true strength of humanity had never been in their weapons or technology. It was in their ability to adapt, to think differently, and to turn apparent disadvantages into overwhelming advantages. The Silent Fleet had lived up to its name, and the galaxy would never be the same. Operation Trojan Horse. The Arxian High Command had grown paranoid since their encounters with humanity. Their mighty fleets now moved in defensive formations, their colonies bristled with advanced sensor arrays, and their leadership retreated to supposedly impregnable fortress worlds. They believed themselves prepared for any human deception or technological surprise. They were wrong. Deep within the collective's most secure research facility on Arxis Prime, Dr. Maya Rodriguez adjusted her engineered bioform with practiced ease. Her modified body, indistinguishable from an Arxian, even at the cellular level, was humanity's greatest achievement in biological engineering. Every movement, every chemical signature, even her neural patterns perfectly mimicked Arxian physiology. Status check, she subvocalized through her quantum-encrypted neural link. The signal, disguised as normal Arxian brain activity, reached the dozen other human operatives scattered throughout the facility. Engineering section secure, came the first response. They still think I'm Chief Engineer Vextal. Medical wing clear, another operative reported. Our genetic camouflage is holding. The infiltration had taken years to plan and execute. While the collective focused on defending against space-based threats, humanity had taken a different approach. Instead of fighting the Arxians' superior numbers and firepower, they had turned their own bodies into the ultimate infiltration tools. Maya moved through the facility's corridors, her modified sensory organs taking in far more information than her Arxian disguise suggested possible. Every passing guard, every security scan, every chemical sniffer read her as nothing more than another Arxian scientist. The deception went far deeper than mere appearance. Her engineered body actually functioned like an Arxian's, down to the cellular level. Begin Phase 2, she ordered as she reached her designated terminal. The other operatives acknowledged silently, each preparing to execute their part of humanity's most ambitious operation yet. The collective had always assumed their biological uniqueness made infiltration impossible. Their complex physiological systems, they believed, couldn't be replicated by any other species. This assumption was now their greatest vulnerability. Maya's fingers, perfectly mimicking Arxian digit structure, moved across the facility's quantum-encrypted interfaces. Her neural implants, disguised as standard Arxian neural patterns, interfaced seamlessly with their systems. She wasn't hacking their network. She was accessing it exactly as an Archean would, because for all intents and purposes, she was Archean. Security breach in Section 7. The facility's AI announced suddenly. Maya allowed herself a small smile, knowing that one of her team had begun their designated distraction. As security forces rushed to investigate, other operatives moved into position. Each had spent years preparing for this moment, their bodies and minds engineered not just to imitate Archeans, but to improve upon them. Humanity had taken their greatest evolutionary adaptations, their ability to survive in diverse environments, their endurance, their problem-solving capabilities, and enhanced them beyond anything the collective had imagined possible. Phase 2 complete, reported the operative in engineering. Quantum core access achieved. Maya began the final stage of their mission. While the collective had focused on defending against external threats, humanity had literally walked through their front door. The operational plan wasn't just about gathering intelligence or sabotage. It was about fundamentally changing how the collective viewed reality itself. Initiating quantum consciousness transfer, Maya subvocalized. Her neural implants began uploading a specially designed program into the facility's quantum core. The program wasn't designed to destroy or disable. Instead, it would subtly alter how the collective's quantum computers processed information about human capabilities. "You have to understand," she typed into the facility's main computer. Knowing her message would reach the highest levels of collective leadership, humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology or our deception. It's our ability to change, to adapt, to become whatever we need to be to survive. Throughout the facility, other operatives were doing the same, their engineered bodies interfacing with collective systems in ways that should have been impossible. They weren't just stealing data or sabotaging systems. They were rewriting the collective's fundamental understanding of what was possible. "Your mistake," Maya continued her message, "was assuming that biology was destiny. You thought your complex physiology made you superior, made you safe from infiltration. But humanity's greatest asset has always been our adaptability." The facility's alarms suddenly blared, but not because they had detected the infiltrators. The collective's own security systems were beginning to recognize impossible contradictions in their fundamental assumptions about species capabilities. By the time you read this, Maya's message concluded. "We will be gone, but we leave you with a choice. You can continue to fight against us, to try to dominate what you don't understand, or you can accept that the galaxy is larger and more complex than your hierarchical worldview allows." The infiltration team began their exfiltration, their engineered bodies seamlessly shifting through emergency protocols, just as real Archeans would. They left behind no evidence of their presence, only the seeds of doubt they had planted in the collective's quantum consciousness. Days later, when the collective finally realized the full extent of the infiltration, their response was not rage or retaliation, but fear. Humanity had proven that they could become anything, adapt to any challenge, overcome any obstacle. The species they had dismissed as primitive had literally walked among them, indistinguishable from their own kind. The message was clear. Humanity's greatest weapon wasn't their technology or their deception. It was their fundamental nature as adaptable, evolving beings. The collective would never again make the mistake of underestimating human potential. The neural network. Fleet Admiral Xirax stood before the combined council of the Archean collective, her sensor stalks trembling with barely contained frustration. The holographic displays around her showed the impossible. Systematic failures across every attempt to counter human technological advantages. "They shouldn't be able to coordinate their actions this effectively," she insisted. "Their ships operate independently, with no central command structure we can detect. It defies everything we know about military organization." The council chambers fell silent as a new hologram materialized, a complete analysis of human battle tactics over the past 6 months. Each engagement showed the same pattern: human ships acting with both individual initiative and perfect coordination, adapting to collective strategies faster than should have been possible. In Earth's primary defense command center, deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, General Marcus Chen watched a very different kind of display. The Neural Command Interface, or NCI, filled the massive chamber with a three-dimensional representation of human space and every ship within it. But unlike traditional military command structures, this wasn't a simple chain of command. "Show me Fleet Group 7's cognitive mesh," he ordered. The display shifted, revealing not just ship positions, but the intricate web of human consciousness, linking each vessel and crew. Every captain, every crew member, connected through a vast neural network that allowed for both independent action and instantaneous coordination. "Sir," his aide reported, "the collective is mounting another offensive. 3 battle groups approaching the Proxima Centauri defense line." Chen smiled. The collective still hadn't grasped the fundamental difference between their approach to warfare and humanity's, where they relied on rigid hierarchies and predetermined responses. Humanity had embraced chaos theory and emergent behavior. "Release cognitive restrictions on all frontier fleet groups," he ordered. "Let them think." Across human space, ship captains and crew members felt their neural connections expand. The NCI didn't control them. It enhanced them, allowing each individual to contribute their unique perspective and creativity to a vast, collective intelligence that emerged from their combined consciousness. Aboard the destroyer HFY Hyperion, Captain Sarah Martinez felt her awareness expand as she merged with the neural network. She could sense her fellow captains, feel their strategies and insights merging with her own. But unlike the rigid control of a traditional command structure, this was a fluid, organic exchange of ideas and intuitions. "They're trying to predict our response patterns again," she communicated through the network. The thought rippled through the collective consciousness of the human fleet, each ship and crew adding their own analysis and suggestions. The collective fleet approached in perfect formation, their tactics a masterpiece of traditional space warfare doctrine. They had studied every previous encounter, developed countermeasures for every human technology they had encountered. Their strategy was flawless, against any conventional opponent. But humanity was anything but conventional. The human ships began to move, each acting independently yet part of a greater whole. Where the collective expected a coordinated defense, they found what appeared to be chaos. Ships moved in seemingly random patterns, their actions unpredictable yet somehow purposeful. "Impossible," Admiral Xerox whispered as she watched the battle unfold. "Their formations, there's no logic to them." But there was logic, a deeper, more complex logic than the collective could comprehend. Each human ship was both an individual actor and part of a greater consciousness, their actions guided by both personal initiative and collective intelligence. The neural network didn't just allow them to coordinate. It allowed them to think as one while maintaining the creativity and unpredictability of individual human minds. The collective fleet's perfect formations began to break apart as they tried to adapt to the seemingly chaotic human tactics. Every time they thought they had identified a pattern, the human ships would shift strategies, their responses emerging organically from the combined consciousness of thousands of linked minds. "They're not just coordinating their actions," Xerox realized with growing horror. "They're thinking collectively, adapting faster than any hierarchical command structure could allow." The neural network allowed human ships to share not just tactical data, but experience, intuition, and creativity. Each crew member's unique perspective contributed to a greater whole, creating strategies that emerged from the combined intelligence of the entire fleet. As the battle reached its climax, the human fleet's apparently random movements suddenly revealed their true purpose. The collective ships found themselves caught in a complex, four-dimensional trap that had been crafted by the emergent intelligence of the neural network. "Stand down." General Chen's voice reached every collective commander simultaneously. "Your ships are surrounded. Your retreat routes blocked by quantum probability fields you haven't even detected yet. This isn't a battle you can win through conventional tactics." In the council chambers, the holographic displays showed the full extent of the human victory, not through superior firepower or advanced technology, but through a fundamental reimagining of how consciousness itself could be used in warfare. "Your mistake," Chen continued, was assuming that military effectiveness requires rigid control. Humanity learned long ago that our greatest strength lies in our ability to act both independently and collectively. Each of our ships is free to think, to create, to adapt, while simultaneously being part of something greater than themselves. The collective fleet, faced with the undeniable superiority of human neural warfare, had no choice but to retreat. They had prepared for every conventional strategy, every traditional tactic, but they hadn't prepared for an enemy that could think with both the creativity of individuals and the power of a collective consciousness. Symphony of Victory. The Arxian Collective's Supreme Council gathered in their most secure facility, deep within their homeworld's crystalline core. The chamber, normally a symbol of their civilization's power and unity, now felt more like a tomb. Holographic displays showed the unthinkable, simultaneous human operations across every sector of collective space. High Commander Zextal, now promoted to Supreme Military Director, faced his leaders with all 4 sensor stalks drooping in defeat. They're everywhere and nowhere. Our fleets engage phantom ships while their real forces strike elsewhere. Our most secure facilities report impossible security breaches. Even our quantum networks show signs of consciousness patterns we can't explain. In Earth's deep-sea command center, General Chen and Dr. Rodriguez stood before humanity's combined military leadership. The neural command interface filled the chamber with a real-time display of their species' greatest military operation. Operation Symphony. All pieces are in position. Rodriguez reported, her body still bearing traces of its Arxian adaptations. Our infiltrators have seeded every major collective facility with quantum consciousness monitors. The silent fleet is in position, and our neural network has achieved full spectrum coverage of collective space. Chen nodded, his mind connected to thousands of others through the neural interface. Then it's time for humanity to reveal its true nature, not as conquerors, not as victims, but as catalysts for change. Across collective space, human operations that had been months or years in preparation began to synchronize. The silent fleet emerged from its quantum hiding spaces, but not to attack. Infiltrators within collective facilities activated their programs, but not to destroy. The neural network expanded its consciousness, but not to dominate. Instead, humanity orchestrated something entirely new. In the collective council chamber, the holographic displays suddenly shifted. Instead of tactical data and battle reports, they showed something far more profound: the true nature of human consciousness and technology. People of the collective. Chen's voice reached every Arxian communication device simultaneously. We could have destroyed you. We could have dismantled your civilization piece by piece, but that's not who we are. The displays showed human ships transforming, revealing technology far beyond what they had previously demonstrated. Infiltrators within collective facilities stepped forward, their bodies shifting between human and Arxian forms with impossible fluidity. The neural network extended an offer of connection, showing the Arxians a glimpse of what true collective consciousness could be. Your civilization is built on hierarchy, on the belief that order must be imposed from above. Chen continued. You see the galaxy as something to be controlled, categorized, and conquered. But we offer a different vision. Throughout collective space, human operations revealed themselves not as acts of war, but as demonstrations of possibility. The silent fleet showed how technology could transcend traditional physics. The infiltrators demonstrated how biology could be a tool of understanding rather than deception. The neural network offered a glimpse of consciousness beyond individual limitations. We are not your enemies. Rodriguez's voice joined Chen's, broadcasting from within the collective's most secure facility. We are not your subjects, and we will not be your conquerors. We are something else entirely. We are change itself. The Supreme Council watched in awe as their understanding of reality itself seemed to shift. Human technology didn't just surpass theirs, it operated on principles they had never imagined. Human biology wasn't just adaptable, it transcended the very concept of fixed form. Human consciousness wasn't just collective, it was a symphony of individual creativity and shared purpose. Your civilization stands at a crossroads, Chen explained. You can continue on your current path, trying to control and dominate, fighting against the tide of change. Or you can join us in exploring what's truly possible when we stop trying to force the galaxy into rigid categories and hierarchies. The silent fleet began transforming space itself around collective worlds, not as a threat, but as a demonstration. Infiltrators shared their biological innovations, showing how adaptation could lead to understanding rather than deception. The neural network offered connection without domination, a new way of thinking about consciousness and community. "We are human," Rodriguez declared, her form shifting between species as she stood before the Supreme Council. "We are adaptable not because we want to deceive, but because we want to understand. We are technological not because we want to destroy, but because we want to explore. We are collective not because we want to control, but because we want to grow." Throughout collective space, humanity's true nature revealed itself not in destruction or domination, but in transformation. Each ship, each infiltrator, each connected mind demonstrated a fundamental truth. The galaxy was far more wonderful and strange than any single species' definitions could encompass. The Supreme Council, faced with undeniable evidence of humanity's superior capabilities, expected demands for surrender. Instead, they received an invitation. "Join us," Chen offered, "not as rulers or subjects, but as partners in exploration. Your civilization has achieved incredible things through order and hierarchy. Imagine what we could achieve together by embracing chaos and change as well." The symphony reached its crescendo. Human ships danced through transformed space, their technology bending reality itself. Infiltrators shared their secrets of adaptation and change. The neural network expanded to offer connection while preserving individuality. In that moment, the Arxian collective faced not defeat, but transformation. Humanity had proven itself not just technologically superior, but philosophically revolutionary. They offered not a new hierarchy, but an end to hierarchies altogether. Not a new form of control, but a new way of existing. As the symphony concluded, the galaxy itself seemed changed. The collective began its transformation from an empire of control to a partnership of possibility. Humanity had achieved victory not through destruction, but through demonstration. They had shown that the true power of their species lay not in weapons or deception, but in their fundamental nature as agents of change and growth. The stars themselves seemed brighter that day, as if acknowledging that a new era had begun. An era where adaptation trumped control, where understanding surpassed domination, and where the greatest power lay not in forcing others to submit, but in showing them how to transform.